Now, it's just, it has just been brought to my attention, and Councillor Lee may wish to comment or not, and the issues are entirely in his hands, but Councillor Lee, you are a submitter on this process, so we just note that.
I intend to declare that, Madam Chair.
That's good, Councillor Lee has declared that, and we've noted it. Craig.
Tihei Moriora, te whare e tunei tēnā koe, te papa ki waho tēnā koe. Ko Craig McElroy, tōku ingoa. Ko te General Manager, ko wai ora Raupu Ohau. No reira ne mihi nui kia koutou. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the St Mary's Bay and Macefield Beach Water Quality Improvement Project. This is a very exciting project for Healthy Waters because for the first time we're bringing the water quality targeted rate to life. This is truly a transformative project that is going to have a major impact on water quality at both St Mary's Bay and at Macefield Beach. And the budget is somewhere north of $30 million to deliver this outcome. We obviously won't know the final number till we've been through the contracting process for construction. But that's the indicative budget that we're talking about. So a very large sum of money, and it's just indicative of the type of monies that have to be spent when we're dealing with these big legacy issues. Good aspects of the project is because we're using tunnelling technology, it's actually very good from a carbon and sustainability viewpoint. The other thing about this project is there's been a massive amount of community and consultation to get where we've got to today. And this is all about reducing overflows into the harbour from the current combined sewer network. And this is only the first step of all of the Western Isthmus activities. So you'll be seeing lots of me over the next year or two as all the planning for the Western Isthmus all comes to a conclusion. I'd like to acknowledge the close relationship we've had with Watercare throughout this project. Obviously, when you're talking about combined sewer overflows, the nexus between Healthy Waters and Watercare is very close. And so this really is an illustrative slide to indicate the current level of overflows, which is in the order of 200 plus in a typical year. And the final solution is, in the interim, something like 20 overflows occurring at the outfall. So literally an order of magnitude improvement, but not only is it an order of magnitude improvement, it's also in a part of the harbour where there is a lot more assimilative capacity, a lot more mixing will take place, and a dramatic improvement in water quality in respect of this particular situation. So this is all about improved public health risk outcomes, better amenity, and it is a significant step towards restoring the Māori of the harbour. Obviously, in an ideal world, we are running an aggressive timetable because it would be wonderful to have this work in place by late 2020, which would obviously predate the America's Cup 2021 event. And the paper today that we'll be talking about in the confidential part of the agenda is around the space that's required to build some of the critical infrastructure that's required to support this project. Anything that involves building tunnels requires quite a bit of other infrastructure to support the tunnel operation. So this is just a little diagrammatic illustration of the key components of the project. So the green line is the tunnel that's going that will be constructed, and the yellow is there are two yellow options at the moment where we have a consenting process which is designed to offer up both alternatives within the consent framework. And the area in black that is highlighted there is the area, is the infrastructure that's required to support the black writing that's required, the black highlight that's required to support the infrastructure around the need for a pump station and some odour control facilities. Just where we are in the process, we lodged a fully notified construction resource consent. That consent has had full mana whenua support, and we actually have the hearing starting next Tuesday on this project, and we're anticipating a decision by mid-October. And obviously, the consultation with the community is an ongoing process. Also, we want to take advantage of this level of expenditure to make sure the project achieves some great social and environmental outcomes. I think going forward, it's something that I know the whole council family is now taking very seriously. And so there are wonderful opportunities both in respect of the landscaping and the urban design process, and mana whenua involvement will be really critical in that urban design process, and will also involve the urban design teams within the council family as well. I think there's a neat opportunity to work with the local community and achieve some good things for the local community. Also, what we can do with some of the local schools as well. I think this could fit in very well with the curriculum around both the environmental and science components of the school curriculums, and we're keen to work with the local schools, and also the opportunity with the contractor to develop new career opportunities in the works that are required in this project, because this contract is going to be the first of many contracts of this nature over the next 10 years. And so although we're talking today about St Mary's Bay Macefield Beach project, there'll be many similar projects that are part of the Western Isthmus work coming up over the next 10 years. And so I think the framework we put in place for this first tranche is significant, not only because of this particular opportunity, but also because of the myriad opportunities that are coming forward in the future. Already mentioned that the environmental outcomes delivered through the tunnelling, which is a good low carbon methodology. Also, we're working closely with Ngāti Whātua Ōraki's local nursery with the landscaping and opportunity to use plants from that nursery. And also working with the supply chain, making sure that we minimise our material usage and give effect as best as we can to Council's zero waste policy. We think these projects really do need to be exemplars of where we're wanting to take the family operations going forward. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will be discussing the land acquisition shortly in the confidential section of the meeting. Also have to achieve, not only do we have a resource consent application that's starting next week, we also have to achieve specific property owner approvals under the Local Government Act, where the tunnel is going directly under individual properties. And at the moment, we've still got some outstanding objections from property owners. Most of the property owners' approvals have already been granted. So we had just a bit over 100 property owner approvals required, of which I think 15 are unresolved at the moment. And at this stage, that's planned to have a hearing, a Council Regulatory Committee hearing in November to resolve those outstanding issues. We also will be going back to the Strategic Procurement Committee in December with a view to probably having a short list of contractors with a view to awarding the contract over the Christmas period, and we've already had a subcommittee appointed to give effect to that particular opportunity, because we really are very keen to see construction start early in 2019, and we have a 2-year construction window with a planned completion in December 2020. So happy to answer any questions on the generality of the project.
Thank you, kia ora, thank you, Craig, and thank you for your introduction. Just reminding people that we do have the details of possible land purchases and the rest of the item in confidence. So, questions of a general nature. Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure, got a few questions. So I understand that this is going to provide an overflow capacity. In respect of the network itself, which is a combined sewer and stormwater, are we actively separating that network?
Yes, we have a number of separation projects underway already, and this work has all been done collaboratively with Watercare. So we already have first of all, we've done separation work in Franklin Road already. We have separation works underway in Freeman's Bay at the moment, and we have separation works underway in Waterview at the moment. So these are all areas within the Western Isthmus catchment. What we have agreed with Watercare is that in order to look at the potential for separation in St Mary's Bay and Herne Bay, the work can only be properly costed if there's a very detailed property by property evaluation carried out to look exactly what would be required to do that separation work. And so Watercare at the moment are in the process of commissioning a contractor to do that work, and it's been agreed that Watercare will take the lead on that work, but it will be 50-50 cost sharing with Healthy Waters. That way, when we come to make decisions around combined versus separate sewers, it's done in the full knowledge of exactly what the costs and the benefits are associated with that work.
Okay, just got a further question in respect of that. Have we considered the possibility of a targeted rate in areas where separation is desirable?
This project, of course, is already funded through a targeted rate. The rationale for the targeted rate for this particular project is that the benefit is a regional benefit, not a local benefit. Everyone benefits from a clean harbour, and so that's how we've put the whole package together for the Western Isthmus. As you'll recall, it was presented to the environment community last October at an assessed current cost of $1.85 billion. These are current dollars, of which $1.5 billion, circa $1.5 billion, was to be funded by Watercare, and the balance to be funded through Healthy Waters and the targeted rate. And Watercare agreed as part of that program to bring $400 million forward in the LTP in order to support the overall project objectives.
Okay, the other question I've got is, because this is changing where the overflow is going, and what obviously it's not going to be going into St Mary's Bay, does it follow that there'll be less sediment going into St Mary's Bay that might be carried by the stormwater?
There'll definitely be less sediment load going into St Mary's Bay, so not only will there be a microbiological improvement in water quality, there'll be a ecological improvement in water quality as well.
And in respect of the Macefield Beach discharge, which was where everything is going, is it likely that we'll see a decline in quality there because that's where all the overflow is going to be going?
No, not at all. At the moment, the actual Macefield Beach overflow occurs right on the edge of the beach, right next to the motorway. We're actually planning to take the overflow out into deep water adjacent to the harbour bridge, and all of the modelling indicates a dramatic improvement in water quality in respect of these particular locations because of that shift.
Yeah.
And also the dramatically reduced frequency, because the tunnel will also be acting as a storage tunnel, and so that's the other reason that the frequency of the overflows will be reduced so much, because we can hold the flows back until the system is available for either have a pump back into the Watercare network for the initial flows as the current design concept, and then those wet weather events that are relatively clean stormwater are safe to be released into the harbour.
So that was the other question I was going to ask. Under project outcomes, overflow events in a typical year, 107 before, 0 after. Is that actually correct? Because my understanding is we're still going to have overflows, they're just going to be further out.
that is in relation to the physical beach location itself. And so the new outfall location, which is mid-channel, we've been entirely open and honest with the community. We're saying there'll be 20 overflows a year initially occurring at that location, but the effect of those overflows will be minimal because of the nature of the overflow, both from a quality point of view, but also the dramatically reduced frequency as well.
Sure. If I can, through you, Madam Chair, make a suggestion that we vary this picture so that it's a little bit more representative of what will actually be happening, which is that there will be overflows, and sure there might be 20, but they'll be further out, because right now it looks as though there's nothing happening.
Well,
Yeah.
says it there.
Sorry, I was just distracted for a second. I think, do you want to respond to that, Craig? Because I think the answer you gave said that what we've got in here is
Yeah.
actually correct.
Look, all I've given you is a little snapshot of some of the material that was prepared for the public workshops that we've had on the project and the various open days, etc. We've been very open and upfront with the community and everyone else about what the current situation is, what the proposed situation is at the end of 2020, and what we believe will be achieved in 2026 when the water care project has the tunnel extended all the way to Grey Lynn, which then changes the whole way that the system operates significantly once again.
Drops at 20 down to 2.
All right, we'll let you cogitate on that for a moment, councillor, just to note.
I've done my cogitation,
You've done-
and my position stands.
Okay,
Thank you.
fair enough. Councillor Lee.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment rather than question?
Yep.
First of all, I'll declare that I have lodged a submission on this application. I want to acknowledge Craig and Healthy Waters for the consultation they've undertaken over nearly 2 years in regard to this project. But in order to be transparent, I have to say that the more the community, and the community has become extremely well informed technically on these matters, and the community in this particular case is led by the chair of the St Mary's Bay Association, who's also the co-chair of SASOP, Stop Auckland Sewerage Overflows Coalition, Judge David Abbott, who presented to the council on the long-term plan. The more technical information they've amassed from Healthy Waters, from Water Care, and from other expert sources, the less supportive they have become of this project. And in fact, there's quite widespread opposition to it. I can, just to be transparent again, to add into what Craig has been saying, the concern is that sewage contaminated stormwater, which is currently by and large going into West Haven, will be diverted to Massfield Beach, to the west of the Harbour Bridge. And the overflows, as Craig has indicated, will be discharged into the channel, in the middle of the channel, by the Harbour Bridge. There is concern about in the 21st century, spending $45 million to ultimately discharge sewage contaminated stormwater into the harbour. But there is also concern from modelling, expert modelling, that a lot of this stuff will flow back in and close by the Western Bays, St Mary's Bay and Herne Bay, and even further into the Meola Inlet for several days after. So that's, in summary, the concerns the public have about this project. They would much prefer the money be spent on separation of stormwater and sewage rather than a 45 million going into a project which will either discharge into the harbour or actually send the stuff back into the already past use by date combined system. So that's why, if you read this report, you may see this as entirely benign and beneficial, and then members may be surprised that there is public opposition to it. This will, I guess, unfold during the hearing, so I'll leave it at that.
It will.
I understand.
Any other comments?
45
Councillor
million.
Simpson and Councillor Hills. Remembering that we have made the decision and we will be talking about the land purchases in the next one. Councillor Simpson.
So my question to you, Craig, is around the fact that we've chosen this project out of the targeted rate to enhance water quality, right? You've got a community that, and the reason we've got the targeted rate is we're trying to bring forward a whole lot of work program that was way out here, and the quicker we do it, the better our water quality goes up. If we've got a community, as Councillor Lee has just stated, that actually says we've got concerns around this project, we potentially don't want it, is there a second project or a third project that we could potentially do? Why are we focused on progressing this one if locally there appears to have a judge-led residents association in opposition?
All I can say in response to that question is the option that we've evaluated has been chosen very carefully, because whether or not the final decision in this catchment is a fully combined catchment, a fully separated catchment, or some combination of both scenarios, this solution is required regardless of which of those three options lands. Because what I can say with absolute confidence to you, if the decision is made to fully separate the catchment, that will take many, many years to achieve a fully separated outcome. And until you've got a fully separated outcome, you will always have wastewater contamination in the stormwater. That is just a reality of life. And so this project, we believe, is a very wise investment to future-proof both the short-term situation, but also provide an option that works for all long-term scenarios.
Yeah, I think that's as clear an answer as you could possibly get. And from a regional perspective, we have other highly critical areas that we need to spend our constrained budget on, and one would have to say this is a critical area and an area of high importance. It's not the only area in Auckland, and at the moment this is the best piece of kit that we can put forward for this solution. And as Craig says, if somehow we win the council version of Lotto, and we did do an entire separation process, this piece of kit would still be required. I've got Councillor Hills next.
So yeah, my main question is, so does this take the overflows from 206 to up to 22 in a more diluted sense away from where people are?
So at the moment, between Macefield Beach and St Mary's Bay, there's circa 200 overflows on a typical year. And so with the pump back scenario that's currently planned, the quality of the stormwater will be dramatically, or the combined flow will be dramatically increased. And also because they're using the storage capacity in the pipeline, we'll be able to reduce the frequency of the overflow as well. And the point that needs to be made with the modelling work that's been done is that when you look at this situation in isolation from everything else, there is no impact whatsoever on the beach water quality. None of that modelling comes back to the beach. The point that Councillor Lee was making is confused by the fact that all the other overflows in the Western Isthmus, over 200 of them, are still going off. It's those 200 other overflows, even when this project is put into place, which is going to impact dramatically on beach quality. And until those 200 overflows are addressed, we will not be able to put the green flag up at all of those beaches. It's not a function of this project. What this project is doing is fixing 2 locations. We've still got many, many other locations that require investment in order to be resolved.
So once again, this will reduce by about almost 200 overflows a year, just this one project.
So we're going from 200 to 20, so that's a tenfold increase in reduction in frequency, but also a substantial improvement in quality. When you add the reduced frequency and the quality components together, it's a very, very good outcome for these 2 specific locations.
Thank you.
But we still have 198 locations left that have not been addressed, and some of them can't be addressed until the central interceptor is constructed, and some of them require other investment interventions as well. This is just the start of a 10-year journey to achieve our ideal state, which we have indicated previously, which is 10 sites will have 6 overflow, maximum of 6 overflows, and all other sites will have 2 or less overflows, and that was what was communicated to the Environment Committee last October, and that is the plan that we are still working to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. I understand the logic in the reduction in overflows that primarily will come from additional storage capacity that's in the pipe. Has the alternative been looked at for simply creating alternative storage capacity without having the pipe and the change in the overflow? And I'd just be curious as to what the alternative cost is for that. And that is a project, for example, that North Shore City embarked on, Project Care, which was all about storage capacity in large part to mitigate against overflows.
It was 300 million 10 years.
So through you, Madam Chair, in actual fact, this is the most cost-effective way to create storage. If you had to build a large storage tank, the tank would be so huge, would take up all of the land that we want to acquire and more, would probably have to be at least 10 metres deep. And in actual fact, by putting in a horizontal boring machine, you not only create storage, but you're also creating conveyance at the same time. So it's actually a very elegant way of achieving both transmission capacity and storage at the same time.
Okay, I think we have had a good and robust discussion on this, remembering that this is probably about the 3rd time this has circled back through this committee. We are going to talk about the rest of the issues in confidence. Councillor Clow, you were happy to move.
Second.
Councillor Deputy Mayor is happy to second. I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Just one way vote recorded
Carried.
again. Thank you.
Okay, councillor Walker, we will do that. Now, it's 1:45. I'm going to suggest that we break for half an hour because we have got the confidential section to come back to, and then we've got the finance workshop after that. So we'll stand adjourned for half an hour. Time to just relax and enjoy some kai and come back. Thank you.